pregnant!
You guys made a mistake. I'm the wife of a veteran.
SWAT team pushed a veteran's pregnant wife. Then the veterans unit stormed in. "Ma'am, I need you to step back and keep your hands visible." Sergeant Rodriguez commanded, his voice steady, but his eyes betraying uncertainty as he looked at the heavily pregnant woman standing at the top of the stairs. Sarah Thompson, 8 months pregnant and trembling with fear, clutched her swollen belly protectively. "Officer, please, there's been a mistake. My husband is Marcus Thompson. He's a decorated Green Beret. We're not criminals," she pleaded, her voice breaking as tears streamed down her face. Rodriguez felt his conviction waver as he took in the nursery visible behind her, the family photos lining the hallway, the obvious signs of a loving home preparing for new life. "Ma'am, we have a warrant for this address regarding drug trafficking. I need you to comply with our instructions." Sarah's eyes widened in disbelief. "Drugs, officer? I'm a trauma nurse at Regional Medical. My husband builds houses for veterans. You've got the wrong people." The desperation in her voice cut through Rodriguez's professional detachment like a knife. And for the first time since breaching the door, he began to question whether they had made a terrible, life-altering mistake. Want to hear how this explosive confrontation ends? Subscribe now, hit that like button, and listen to the full story of Brotherhood betrayal and the moment when 8 former Special Forces operators storm in to protect their brother's family. Don't miss this heart-pounding tale of justice and loyalty. When SWAT officers raided the wrong address and shoved down Sarah, the 8-month pregnant wife of former Special Forces operative Marcus Thompson, they had no idea his entire unit was conducting a training exercise just 3 blocks away. Brotherhood runs deeper than badges. The pre-dawn darkness of Riverside Heights neighborhood was shattered by the rumble of armored vehicles at 5:15 a.m. Fog rolled between the neat rows of suburban houses, creating an eerie backdrop as black-clad figures moved with military precision toward 1247 Oak Street. The quiet community, where American flags hung from porches and children's bicycles dotted driveways, was about to become a battlefield between 2 groups of warriors who should have been on the same side. Marcus Thompson, 35, stood in his kitchen making coffee for his pregnant wife, unaware that his peaceful morning was about to explode into chaos. The former Green Beret's hands, once steady enough to diffuse IEDs in Kandahar, now gently stirred honey into Sarah's herbal tea. His broad shoulders filled out a simple gray t-shirt, and only the faint scars on his forearms hinted at 12 years of special operations missions across 3 continents. Marcus had left the Army 2 years ago after Sarah became pregnant, trading his combat boots for work boots as a construction supervisor. But the warrior never truly leaves the man. His tactical mind still cataloged exits, assessed threats, and maintained situational awareness even while performing mundane domestic tasks. This morning, those instincts would save lives. Sarah, 29, was 8 months pregnant with their first child, a son they planned to name David, after Marcus's fallen team leader. She worked as a trauma nurse at Regional Medical Center, where she'd met Marcus during his PTSD counseling sessions. Their love story began in a hospital corridor built on shared understanding of pain and healing. Sarah knew that beneath her husband's gentle demeanor lived a protector who would move mountains to keep his family safe. The couple had chosen this neighborhood specifically for its safety and proximity to Sarah's hospital. Their modest two-story home represented everything Marcus had fought for overseas, the American dream of peace, family, and a future worth protecting. What Marcus didn't know was that a clerical error had confused their address with 1274 Oak Street, where suspected drug dealer Vincent "Viper" Morales allegedly operated a distribution network. The warrant was legitimate, the intelligence was solid, but the address was wrong. SWAT Team Alpha was about to breach the home of a decorated veteran and his pregnant wife, believing they were raiding a dangerous criminal's fortress. "Marcus, do you hear that?" Sarah whispered from the living room, her hand instinctively protecting her swollen belly. Marcus froze his enhanced hearing, picking up the distinctive sound of diesel engines and tactical radio chatter. His blood turned to ice. Those weren't delivery trucks or emergency vehicles. Those were the sounds of an imminent breach. "Sarah, get upstairs now," Marcus commanded, his voice shifting from loving husband to combat veteran in an instant. "Bathroom, lock the door. Get in the tub." "What's happening?" Sarah's voice trembled with confusion and fear. "I don't know, but we're about to have company. Go, now!" Marcus's mind raced through possibilities. Wrong address raid, mistaken identity, domestic terrorism response. None of the scenarios were good, and all of them put Sarah and their unborn child in mortal danger. As Sarah hurried upstairs, Marcus grabbed his cell phone and sent an emergency text to his old unit's group chat. "Code Black, 1247 Oak Street. Immediate assistance required. Sarah in danger." The message went to 8 men scattered across the city, his former Green Beret team, who had remained close after discharge. They were supposed to meet at 0700 for their monthly training exercise at the abandoned warehouse district. Instead, they were about to conduct the most important mission of their lives. Marcus had 30 seconds before breach. No time to retrieve his legally owned firearms from the gun safe upstairs. No time to call 911 and explain the situation. No time for anything except damage control and protecting his wife. He positioned himself in the front hallway, hands visible, trying to project calm authority. If this was a legitimate law enforcement operation, compliance was his best strategy. If it wasn't legitimate, he needed to buy time for his team to arrive. The front door exploded inward with a thunderous crash as the breaching charge detonated. 6 SWAT officers poured through the opening, weapons raised, shouting commands that overlapped into incomprehensible noise. "Get down! Get down, hands where we can see them!" Marcus slowly raised his hands, his military bearing evident even in surrender. "I'm complying. I'm a veteran. My pregnant wife is upstairs. Please identify yourselves and state your business." Team leader Sergeant Rodriguez, a former Marine himself, noticed Marcus's calm demeanor and military posture. Something felt wrong about this raid, but they were committed now. "Marcus Thompson, you're under arrest for conspiracy to distribute controlled substances. We have a warrant to search these premises." Marcus's jaw dropped. "Sergeant, there's been a mistake. I'm a former Green Beret. My wife is a nurse. We have nothing to do with drugs." "That's what they all say." Officer Bradley sneered, the youngest and most aggressive member of the team. Upstairs, Sarah appeared at the top of the staircase, her pregnant silhouette clearly visible. "Marcus, what's happening to us?" "Ma'am, stay where you are," Rodriguez shouted, but his tone was less harsh than before. The sight of the obviously pregnant woman was making him question the intelligence they'd received. Meanwhile, 3 blocks away, Master Sergeant Jake Bulldog Morrison was loading equipment into his pickup truck when his phone buzzed with Marcus's emergency text. The former team sergeant didn't hesitate. He gunned his engine toward Oak Street while speed dialing the other team members. Ghost medic hammer emergency at Marcus's house. SWAT raid possible wrong address. Sarah's pregnant and in danger. Converge on Oak Street immediately. Technical Sergeant Alex Ghost Patterson was already in his surveillance van equipped with long-range optics and communication equipment. Bulldog, I'm 2 minutes out. Setting up Overwatch. Staff Sergeant Tommy Medic Chen grabbed his medical kit and sprinted to his motorcycle. En route. If Sarah's in labor from stress, we'll need immediate medical intervention. The team's response was automatic, honed by years of training and brotherhood forged in combat. They had saved each other's lives in Afghanistan and Iraq. They would save Marcus's family in suburban America. Back inside the house, the situation was deteriorating rapidly. Officer Bradley, pumped up on adrenaline and convinced he was facing dangerous criminals, was becoming increasingly aggressive. "Where are the drugs, Thompson? We know you're running product through this house." "Officer, I'm telling you there's been a mistake," Marcus replied calmly, though his hands were clenched into fists. "Check my military records. Check my wife's employment at the hospital. We're not criminals." Rodriguez was beginning to have serious doubts. The house was too clean, too normal. Family photos covered the walls. Baby furniture was visible in the adjacent room. This didn't look like a drug dealer's operation. "Bradley, ease up," Rodriguez ordered. "Let's verify the address on the warrant." "The address is right here," Bradley snapped back. 1247 Oak Street. This is it." That's when Sarah, frightened and confused, began walking down the stairs to reach her husband. Her 8-month pregnancy made her movements slow and careful, but Officer Bradley perceived her approach as a potential threat. "Stop right there!" Bradley shouted, raising his weapon toward the pregnant woman. "She's pregnant!" Marcus roared, his composure finally cracking. "She's not a threat." But Bradley, his judgment clouded by inexperience and adrenaline, made a catastrophic decision. He rushed toward Sarah to neutralize the threat, shoving her backward to prevent her from reaching the bottom of the stairs. Sarah lost her balance, tumbling down the final 4 steps and landing hard on her side, crying out in pain as she clutched her belly. "Sarah!" Marcus's anguished scream filled the house. The sight of his pregnant wife lying injured on the floor triggered something primal in Marcus Thompson. The gentle husband and father-to-be vanished, replaced by the Green Beret, who had survived 47 combat missions. His eyes went cold, his stance shifted, and every SWAT officer in the room suddenly realized they were facing a very dangerous man. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," Marcus said, his voice deadly quiet. Rodriguez recognized the look he'd seen it in Marines pushed beyond their breaking point. "Everyone stand down, stand down." But it was too late for de-escalation. Outside, the sound of approaching vehicles announced the arrival of Marcus's team. 8 former Special Forces operators were converging on the house, and they had just heard their brother's wife scream in pain. Ghost Patterson's voice crackled through their tactical radios. "I have eyes on the house. SWAT team inside Marcus and Sarah both down. Sarah appears injured. Recommend immediate intervention." Bulldog Morrison's response was swift and decisive. "All units, this is a rescue operation. Rules of engagement protect Marcus and Sarah at all costs. These cops just declared war on the wrong family. Sarah lay motionless on the hardwood floor, blood seeping through her maternity dress. The fall had triggered premature labor, and she was going into shock from pain and terror. Marcus knelt beside her, his hand shaking as he checked for signs of life from his unborn son. "She needs an ambulance now," Marcus demanded, his voice breaking with desperation. Rodriguez was already reaching for his radio when Bradley made another catastrophic decision. Secure the scene first. The suspect could be faking to create a distraction. Suspect. Marcus exploded, rising to his feet with murder in his eyes. "That's my wife and child bleeding on the floor because of your incompetence." The front door, already damaged from the initial breach, suddenly filled with armed figures. But these weren't more police. They were Marcus's team, and they were not in a negotiating mood. Bulldog Morrison stepped through the doorway first, his massive frame filling the entrance. Behind him came Ghost Patterson with his sniper rifle, Medic Chen with his medical kit, and 5 other Green Berets who had faced Taliban fighters and lived to tell about it. "Freeze, police!" Officer Bradley screamed, swinging his weapon toward the new arrivals. "Wrong answer," Bulldog roared back. "That's our brother's wife bleeding on your floor, and you're about to explain why?" The standoff was immediate and deadly. 6 SWAT officers faced 8 Special Forces veterans in a suburban living room with a pregnant woman's life hanging in the balance. The tactical advantage belonged to whoever fired first, but the moral authority belonged to the men who had come to protect family. Rodriguez found himself caught between duty and conscience. His team had the legal authority of a search warrant, but they had clearly made a terrible mistake. The men facing them weren't criminals. They were soldiers, and they were protecting one of their own. "Rodriguez?" Marcus called out, recognizing the team leader's military bearing. "You're former military. Look at my wife. She's dying while we stand here pointing guns at each other." Rodriguez looked down at Sarah, seeing the growing pool of blood beneath her. His own wife was pregnant with their second child. The sight of another expectant mother in distress cut through his professional detachment like a knife. "Medic Chen, you have my permission to treat the patient," Rodriguez announced, lowering his weapon. "Sir," Bradley protested, "these men are interfering with a police operation. These men are trying to save a life that we put in danger." Rodriguez snapped back. "Stand down, Bradley. That's an order." Medic Chen rushed to Sarah's side, his trained hands quickly assessing her condition. "She's in premature labor, possible placental abruption. We need to get her to a hospital immediately, or we're going to lose both mother and child." The room fell silent, except for Sarah's labored breathing and Marcus's whispered prayers. 8 years of brotherhood forged in the crucible of combat had brought these men together to face their greatest challenge, not against foreign enemies, but against a system that had failed to protect the innocent. Ghost Patterson's voice cut through the tension. "Bulldog, I've got eyes on the real target house. 12 and 74 Oak Street, 2 blocks north. Viper Morales just pulled into the driveway with a trunk full of product." The revelation hit Rodriguez like a physical blow. They had raided the wrong house. They had assaulted an innocent family. They had triggered a confrontation that could have resulted in multiple deaths, all because someone had transposed 2 numbers on an address. Rodriguez made the hardest decision of his law enforcement career. He holstered his weapon and turned to his team. "Stand down. All weapons down. We screwed up and we're going to fix it." "Sir, we can't just—" Bradley began. "Officer Bradley, you are relieved of duty. Your actions have endangered a civilian and escalated this situation beyond acceptable parameters. Remove yourself from this scene immediately." Bradley's face flushed red with anger and humiliation, but he was outnumbered and outranked. He backed toward the door, his weapon still drawn, his judgment clouded by wounded pride. "This isn't over," Bradley muttered as he retreated. As Medic Chen worked to stabilize Sarah, Marcus knelt beside his wife, holding her hand and whispering reassurances. "Stay with me, baby. David needs his mom. I need you." Sarah's eyes fluttered open, focusing on Marcus's face. "The baby? Is he? Medic's taking care of both of you. Just hold on." Rodriguez coordinated with dispatch to get an ambulance en route, while Bulldog Morrison organized his team to secure the perimeter. The immediate crisis was under control, but the emotional damage would take much longer to heal. Ghost Patterson continued his surveillance of the real target house, providing real-time intelligence on Viper Morales' operation. "Bulldog, we've got multiple vehicles at 1274. Looks like a major distribution meeting. If SWAT wants to salvage this operation, they need to move now." The ambulance arrived within minutes, its sirens cutting through the morning air like a battle cry. Paramedics rushed into the house, taking over Sarah's care from Medic Chen, who briefed them on her condition with military precision. 29-year-old female, 32 weeks pregnant, fell downstairs during high-stress situation. Possible placental abruption signs of premature labor. Vitals stable but declining. She needs immediate transport to Level 1 Trauma Center. As the paramedics prepared Sarah for transport, Marcus climbed into the ambulance, never releasing her hand. "I'm not leaving her." Rodriguez nodded his understanding. "Go. We'll handle everything here." But as the ambulance pulled away, Officer Bradley reappeared with backup 3 patrol units responding to his radio call for assistance. He had painted the situation as a hostage scenario, claiming that armed militants had taken control of the scene. "There they are," Bradley shouted, pointing at the Green Berets. Armed and dangerous, they threatened police officers. The responding officers, unaware of the true situation, began taking tactical positions around the house. Rodriguez found himself caught between his own mistake and Bradley's lies, with 8 combat veterans who were rapidly losing patience with police incompetence. Bulldog Morrison stepped forward, his hands visible, but his posture unmistakably military. "Officers, I'm Master Sergeant Jake Morrison, United States Army Special Forces retired. These men are my teammates. We responded to a distress call from our brother whose pregnant wife was injured during your raid on the wrong address." "I don't care if you're George Washington," one of the responding officers replied. "You're interfering with police business." "No," Rodriguez interrupted, stepping between the two groups. "They're cleaning up our mess. Officer Bradley filed a false report. These men are heroes, not criminals." The standoff stretched for long minutes with weapons drawn on both sides and tempers flaring. Then Ghost Patterson's voice crackled over the radio with game-changing intelligence. "All units, this is Overwatch. I have visual confirmation of major drug transaction at 1274 Oak Street. Multiple suspects, large quantity of narcotics visible. Recommend immediate response to correct address." Rodriguez seized the opportunity to redirect the operation toward its intended target. "All units, we have confirmation of criminal activity at 1274 Oak Street. That's our real objective. These men," he gestured toward the Green Berets, "are going to help us get the job done right." The next hour became a textbook example of military-police cooperation. Ghost Patterson provided overwatch and intelligence. Bulldog Morrison coordinated tactical movement. The other team members secured the perimeter and provided backup as SWAT finally raided the correct address. Viper Morales and his entire distribution network were arrested without a shot being fired thanks to the superior intelligence and tactical support provided by Marcus's team. At Regional Medical Center, Sarah underwent emergency surgery to stop the bleeding and prevent further complications. After 6 hours of surgery, doctors announced that both mother and baby would survive, though David would be born 6 weeks premature. Marcus sat in the NICU, holding his tiny son's hand through the incubator's porthole. "You're a fighter, just like your mom," he whispered. Rodriguez appeared in the doorway, still in his tactical gear but looking exhausted and humbled. "How are they?" "They'll live," Marcus replied without looking up. "No thanks to your department." "Marcus, I know nothing I say can undo what happened, but I want you to know Officer Bradley has been terminated. There will be a full investigation, and your team's assistance in the Morales arrest probably saved lives." The incident sparked a comprehensive review of SWAT procedures and address verification protocols. Rodriguez was promoted to training supervisor, tasked with implementing new safeguards to prevent similar mistakes. Marcus's team received commendations from the mayor for their assistance in the drug bust, but more importantly, they had proven that Brotherhood transcends uniform and service branch. Officer Bradley faced criminal charges for filing false reports and excessive force. His law enforcement career was overended by his own poor judgment and inability to admit mistakes. 3 months later, at David's baptism, an unexpected guest appeared at the church. Rodriguez, dressed in his dress uniform, approached Marcus with a small gift, a silver frame containing a photo of the Green Beret team and the SWAT officers working together during the Morales raid. "I wanted David to have this," Rodriguez said, "so he'll know that sometimes when good people make mistakes, other good people step up to make things right." Marcus accepted the gift, studying the photo of former enemies working as allies. "Sergeant, Brotherhood isn't about the uniform you wear, it's about the people you're willing to stand up for. Brotherhood isn't about the uniform you wear, it's about the people you're willing to stand up for." This became the motto inscribed on the memorial wall at the Police Training Academy, reminding every new officer that their true mission is protecting the innocent, not proving their authority.